Now, I want to show you one command in Claude Code that's genuinely saved me more time than almost anything else I've added to my setup this year. It's a skill called handoff-doc, and effectively what it does is take your entire working session, the decisions you made, the files you touched, what's still open, and write it out as one structured doc to a file on disk, and it does all of that in about 30 seconds. Now, the reason that matters comes down to compacting. Every long session eventually hits a point where you have to compact to reclaim your context window, and the thing with compacting is, the moment you do it, whatever you didn't write down is effectively gone. Most of us never write it down, because doing it by hand is just enough friction that you skip it. This skill removes that friction completely. So let me walk you through exactly how it works. So here's what's actually happening under the hood. When you run it, the skill reads back through your entire session, every decision you made, every file you touched, every loose end you left open, and distills all of it down into one structured document. That's about 30 seconds of your attention, and maybe 3 minutes of it churning in the background. And when it finishes, it reports back exactly what it captured. Now, the important part is where that document ends up. On disk. Not in the context window. On disk. Which means it's durable before you ever hit compact. Whatever the reset decides to throw away, your handoff is sitting safely in a file. So let's get it installed. It's open source. It lives in my agent skills repo on GitHub. If you're in Claude Code, it's 2 lines. Add the marketplace, then install the handoff-doc plugin. If you're on another agent, Codex Cursor Copilot, there's a one-liner with npx skills. Once it's in, /handoff-doc shows up as a /command. On the other agents, you just describe the task and it triggers automatically. Now the trigger. The rule I follow is simple. When context crosses around 20%, finish whatever microtask you're on, run the skill, then compact. And 20% might sound aggressive, but on a 1 million token Opus session, 20% is already 200,000 tokens. That's an hour or more of real work. Why not just wait longer? 2 reasons. Quality degrades gradually, by 25, 30%. The model's chewing through a growing pile of stale content every single turn. Old exploration logs, resolved errors, abandoned approaches, and the skill itself needs room to work. It has to read back and distill. Run it at 20% and it's got space. Run it at 30 and the distillation is competing with the very content it's trying to capture. The mental model I use is version control for your session state. Git captures your code between commits. The handoff-doc captures your working state between context resets. So in this session, here's the cue. Context already nudged up to 25%. And notice, that's a completely passive glance. Like checking a battery indicator, the moment it crosses your line, you know. So that's step 1. You notice the threshold. Step 2. Invoke the skill. You type /handoff-doc and then a destination. Here I'm pointing it at a notes folder with that errored reference, and this is the nice part. The skill checks the destination first. If the folder already has handoff docs, it reads their naming convention and just continues the series, date, number, slug. If the folder's empty, it starts the series. So I never have to think about fill names. That's the whole invocation, 1 line. Now it goes to work. It reads back through the whole session, distills it, and writes that structured doc to disk, and then it reports back exactly what it captured, and the doc follows the same skeleton every time. There's what happened, the decisions you made and what got done, where things live, the files you touched and the key paths, verification, what was tested, what passed, and, importantly, what was not, the git state, your branch, your commit, whether it's pushed, and the open follow-ups, numbered, specific, ready to pick up. Now, that verification section is the one I'd point to, because it's honest about what hasn't been checked, which is exactly the thing you'd gloss over writing this by hand. So when it finishes, you just give it a 30-second skim. If those sections look right, you're done. So now the handoff's on disk, which means step 4 is the easy one. You just run /compact. But here's the important shift, and it's the whole reason the order matters. Your handoff-doc is now the durable artifact. It lives on disk completely outside the context window, so it's totally unaffected by whatever the compaction summarizer decides to keep or throw away. Now, the compact summary itself is still useful. It gives you compressed context to start from. But the doc on disk is the real lifeline. That's the thing that survives no matter what. And for a session sitting around 25%, the whole compaction takes a minute, maybe 2. And here's the payoff. Compaction finishes and context drops to 0. But look at the output. It lists every file it just reread, and right there is the handoff-doc you created. Your skills are restored. Referenced files are loaded back in, so the session is genuinely fresh. Full model quality, clean window, but your state came with it. It knows what was done, what's pending, and what to do next, all from that one document it read back. You just continue from exactly where you left off. Now you might be thinking, I could just write this myself. You could. But manual handoffs fail in 3 pretty predictable ways. 1, you skip it entirely. That's the big one, and the one I'm most guilty of. The skill drops the activation energy from write an 8-line prompt and review it, down to type 1 line and skim for 30 seconds, so you actually do it. 2, you write too little. Create a handoff-doc gives the model almost nothing, and you get a vague summary. Here, the structured skeleton is the prompt. And 3, you write too much. A full transcript replay disguised as documentation. The skill distills. It keeps the decisions, the current state, the open work, and drops the dead exploration paths and the errors you already fixed. Plus it quietly handles the stuff you'd forget, checking the folder's naming convention, auto-incrementing the number, even turning yesterday into an actual date so the doc still makes sense a week later. So the whole habit, in one sentence: when context crosses the threshold, capture your state with one command, then reset. Watch the context %. That's your sensor. The threshold is the trigger, and the skill is the mechanism that makes the whole thing effortless. One more thing worth saying. This isn't just for the AI. The handoff-doc reads like a structured briefing for a human too. Handing a project off to a teammate, or picking it back up yourself after a week away. Same doc, same value. It's open source, so go grab it, and try it on your next long session. Build the habit, watch the context, run the skill, compact, continue.